Welcome in, everyone. Another game preview. UConn BYU, a top 10 matchup. Saturday night on Fox, 7 p.m. Eastern at TD Garden in Boston. I'm going to break it all down. I do have a pretty strong opinion on this game, so stick around to find out which way I'm leaning. Quick overview of BYU's season. A little bit more battle-tested than UConn. Played Villanova that opening night of the season. It was a really close game. Ended up winning 71-66. Blew the doors off Holy Cross 98-53, and then beat Delaware 85-68. The Delaware game was pretty wild. BYU was down 10-0 in their home gym, and Delaware was missing 4 rotation players, 3 of which are Power 5 transfers. A Delaware team that lost to Bucknell and a non-D1 school in their first 2 games of the season. Eventually, talent wins out. BYU wins it by 17. Rob Wright, maybe the best game of his collegiate career, goes for 26, 9, and 9, almost a triple-double. 26 for Richie Saunders and 18 for AJ Dybantsa. Which gets me kind of to my main point about BYU, which is that trio is potentially the best trio in all of college basketball. That's how good that group is. And Keba Keita is a great 5-man who can protect the rim, win on the glass. But the role players really haven't been great for BYU. Dawson Baker and Boscovich are solid guys. They were good last year, but haven't got much out of them. Tyler Maruss, the Idaho transfer, hasn't scored a damn point this season. And the main story is Kennard Davis, who was one of my favorite transfer picks in the Porto class, coming over from Southern Illinois, a 3-and-D guy, super athletic, can guard a bunch of positions. He was out last game with an injury and gets a DUI Thursday morning at 11:45 a.m. There were rumors whether it, instead of alcohol, being medical painkillers he was on for that injury that he missed Tuesday's game with. I don't know all the details, of course. I hope everyone involved is okay, but from a basketball perspective, I don't expect him to be playing in this game, and he's a huge piece. It's not a coincidence that missing Kennard Davis is absolutely a reason why they struggled against Delaware for a decent portion of the game. BYU head coach Kevin Young said this after the game. It's amazing when you take one guy out what it does to the team. He's such a huge part of us because of his toughness, his size, and his defensive versatility. He is kind of the glue. When you have 3 stud offensive players like a Richie and AJ and a Rob Wright and Keba Keita who has a specific role, Kennard Davis is that glue that brings the best out of that unit, and taking him out, BYU is not as good of a team. Quick pause. If you're watching, please just take 5 seconds, like, comment, subscribe, support the channel. It means a lot. Couple stylistic notes for BYU to start the year. They've been great at taking care of the basketball, 4th best turnover percentage in the nation. And defensively, they have the longest average possession length in the country, near 21 seconds. So they're really keeping teams out of transition and making them grind for their shots in the half court. Let's get into UConn, who hasn't been tested like BYU. They've played 3 home bye games, but they've looked really good in them. Absolutely smoked UMass Lowell and New Haven, who are pretty bad, like bottom 30 teams in the country. And then a decent Columbia team they beat 89-62. I'm excited to see what UConn looks at full strength when you add Braylon Mullins and Jacob Furphy in the mix, but even with this top 8 that they're using right now, I love the way they're playing. Dan Hurley with a ton of continuity, bringing back Tarris Reed, Alex Karaban, solo ball, Jalen Stewart, and Jaden Ross off the bench. And then the additions in the portal and freshman class that we've seen so far really fit into specific roles. Silas Demery, coming over from Georgia, is really playing like Tristan Newton as a big, strong point guard who can rebound the basketball and control pace and run the offense and handle a grenade when a possession does break down. Malachi Smith is kind of like the Hassan Diarra role from the championship teams, a kind of bulldog backup point guard that can create, but is really there for defense and to hit those open threes. And then Eric Reiba, the 7'1" German freshman, not saying he's Donovan Klingon, but he's kind of playing that role of that kind of different look you get from your backup 5-man who can protect the rim and is skilled on the perimeter. Of course, they haven't really been tested yet. They did beat Michigan State in a scrimmage, but in these home bye games, UConn has looked super comfortable offensively. The role allocation is so strong. The way they can generate looks and run Hurley's offense is really something to behold. And then defensively, just so connected, playing with such intensity. Of course, that is a non-negotiable for Dan Hurley. What I really love about UConn is just the role allocation is so strong. Everyone knows exactly what they need to be doing and is so bought into Hurley's principles. So when you take a look at this match between UConn and BYU, you know, guys like Rob Wright, AJ Dybantsa, Richie Saunders are going to get theirs, right? Like, they are very high usage players. They're very good offense players. AJ is a special talent. Rob Wright's one of the quickest point guards in the country. And Richie Saunders was all Big 12 first team last year. He's a 3-level scorer. He's a sniper. Those guys are going to score the basketball here Saturday night, but here's why I think UConn can do a good job defending. One is I think Damari and Malachi Smith are pretty good defensive guards who can make things at least a little bit challenging for Rob Wright. Malachi Smith has the speed, and Silas is a bigger, stronger body that can make things harder for Rob Wright in the lane. AJ is just a freak with the way he moves at his size, but I like that UConn can throw a Jalen Stewart and Alex Karaban at him, just two experienced, versatile defensive forwards. And without Kennard Davis in the fold, it just puts a lot more pressure on Morus and Baker to hit some threes as role players, and they really haven't given much at all. And when BYU played a Big East foe in Villanova, year one of Kevin Willard, game one of Kevin Willard's tenure at Villanova, the Wildcats held BYU to just 71 points. I just think defensively, if UConn can do a pretty good job on Rob Wright and just be connected with their ball screen defense, tagging Keita as a roller, and just contesting threes from the role players, I like the guard matchups UConn can put defensively on Rob Wright, and just UConn's ball screen defense is so good, the way that they communicate, tag, switch when they need to. I think they can do a really good job of forcing contested looks from three, and yeah, of course, AJ, Richie, and Rob one-on-one can create for themselves. I just think UConn can make BYU take tougher shots, and when you have potentially the best offensive trio in the country, they're going to hit tough shots. They're going to be able to create for themselves. I just think it's going to be difficult for them. Then the other end of the floor, I mentioned BYU's average possession length defensively. UConn's sets take a while to develop sometimes, the way that there's always just motion on both sides of the floor, so many counters to every action. Total for the game's at 154.5. So if it is at a kind of a half-court pace and BYU can keep UConn out of transition, I like the way that UConn can play in a slower pace game because of how they can generate shots late in the shot clock. And the shooting UConn has with solo ball with Karaban. Jaden Ross was 3 for 3 last game from deep, which is huge. Stewart can obviously shoot it as well. They're so well built and they have such a strong identity. I just think they're levels ahead right now of BYU in terms of playing as a team, especially when you take Kennard Davis out of the mix. BYU is supremely talented. That's why they can make that comeback against Delaware and still win that game by 17 points without kind of really breaking a sweat. Like, their high-end talent is so good. But from a team perspective right now, I think UConn is a much stronger unit. And I haven't really gotten into the fact that this game is being played in the Eastern time zone, an hour and a half from UConn's campus. It's a semi-home game environment. There's going to be a ton of UConn fans there. Whatever the situation is with Kennard Davis, it might not be a huge distraction that impacts the way they play, but it definitely could. And as good of an athlete and as strong as Keita is, Tarris Reed is a bigger body. And as good of a defender Keita is, I think Tarris Reed will be able to be productive on the glass and finishing around the rim. One other nugget on UConn, like I said earlier, I really like the way that Silas Demery has kind of stepped into a Tristan Newton-esque role. He's also a pretty good three-point shooter. He shot 37% from deep for Georgia last year. He's just 0 for 3 from deep this year. He's a guy who could, if he is able to look to be aggressive at certain points and look for his own shot a little bit more, hit a couple more threes, I think that would be really huge for UConn in this game. So I think it's pretty obvious at this point that I think UConn's going to win this basketball game. For the gamers out there, the line opened at 3.5, which I think is just a fantastic price for UConn. I'm seeing movement to 5.5 on most sites now, but I think UConn is going to win this game. I don't think it's going to be close down the stretch. BYU is super talented. I think this is going to be a learning moment, just facing a team that is much more of a cohesive unit at this point in time. I think BYU is going to have a little bit of a learning curve. I think Kevin Young's a great coach. I think BYU is going to be a top 15 team all season long, but Kennard Davis is a very important piece of this team, and I would be shocked if he is on the court Saturday. So, rolling with the Huskies to get this done. I know you can see the bone behind me and the Kemba jersey behind Kobe. I'm not biased. I'm objective when I evaluate these games. I just think this one's going to be all UConn. I think it's going to be a statement win for the Huskies and Dan Hurley. If you like this type of college basketball content, please support the channel, like, comment, subscribe. I really appreciate it. I'm trying to build this thing. We're on the road to 2K subs right now. Need all of your guys' help. Thank you.